Hello everyone, welcome to my first online class, and I will be taking one of your paper, and the name of your paper is a PowerPoint presentation. So today I will take a brief introduction on PowerPoint presentation. A PowerPoint presentation, or very popular, that is Microsoft PowerPoint presentation, is a software product. Okay, it's nothing but just a software product used to perform computer based presentation. Now think it this way. For example, if we have a class inside the classroom, students and a teacher interact using a whiteboard or a blackboard. By a teacher will draw, or a teacher will write down on the whiteboard or on the blackboard to interact with the students. So in the same case and in the same way, a PowerPoint presentation, we can interact between a student and a teacher, right? So instead of using a whiteboard or using a blackboard, we can use this particular software, which is known as the PowerPoint presentation, that we interact between a teacher and students. But in this case, we have to have the projector and a computer. That is why it is used to perform computer based presentation. So in order to use this, we have to have the computer and the projector. So this particular software are used in teaching a class, meeting, introducing a product to sell, explaining an organization structures, and so on. So this particular software are very useful, like we discussed just now, between a teacher and a students. That is, he will take a class. Instead of using whiteboard or blackboard, he can use this particular software. In a meeting, for example, organizations or any business, they will have a meeting. Instead of using whiteboard and blackboard to interact with the clients, they can use this software to interact. And particularly in marketing or business, to introduce a product to sell, they can use this software, because in this particular software you can include images, you can include animations, you can include transitions, you can insert some graphics, you can insert some graphs, and so on. So it is very easy to use, because in the software we can just prepare by a few mouse click and everything is done. So let us discuss what happens before this software PowerPoint presentation came into exist. What happened before that, right? So before PowerPoint presentation came into the scene, people were doing presentation by hand. So if you remember, like I think some of you have done this, if you were asked to give a presentation in your class, you have to use colors, you have to use scissors to cut papers, and then you have to use chart paper to draw. And it really takes time. So you have to spend not just hours, but sometimes days and weeks. Okay, the presentation design, okay, you have to design, you have to plan to do the presentation, working on it very carefully, right? And making sure that final output look great. So you have to plan, you have to do it carefully, you have to use scissors, you have to use papers, you have to use chart papers, you have to buy colors to plan and to do your presentation. before the PowerPoint presentation came into the scene. But nowadays we can just have a few minutes, just a few mouse click, and everything is done. Now what happened, people had to plan every aspect of the presentation very carefully. See, you have to plan it very carefully because mistakes could prove quite costly in of both time and money. So you have to plan it and you have to do it very carefully, otherwise you are spending your time and also you are spending your money if you made any mistakes. Now if you look at this, this is like a graph, right, where you have the year and then you have the level. For example, general electric sales. So this is the graph for general electric sales. This is done by hand, right? You have to cut the paper, you have to glue it, you have to color it, then you have to write down all these things. So here is an example vintage presentation in 1950s. So in 1950s, people are doing everything by hand. So they have to spend days, weeks, and if they make mistakes, you have to redo it again from the beginning. So cutting up cardboard and paper and gluing everything in place. So it looks very neat and tidy, but all of these are done with the help of cardboard, papers, and gluing it. But nowadays, if you have to do this, it takes maybe just 1 minute or 2 minutes, right? So before the PowerPoint presentation came into the scene, you have to do everything by hand. So it really takes time and you have to really spend lots of money. But then in the 1970 to 1980s, using overhead projectors or OHP was a great option for giving presentations. You could write your presentation's main points on transparent slide, okay, the one which I have from before till this moment. I displayed it. This is a nasty slide, and we shall discuss this more in the next classes. So you could write your presentation's main points on transparent slide, which the OHP, or in other words we call it overhead projectors, will then project on the screen. Like I mentioned before, you have to have a computer and the projector in order to do all of this. So in this presentation, or in this PowerPoint presentation, you can insert images, graphics, audios, and videos. So nowadays, with the help of the PowerPoint presentation, everything are just a cup of cake. You can just have a few mouse click and everything is done, right? Thank you.